a very high-level outing in the Benidorm Open 2023. Again, when white plays pawn e4, what is the best reply? Is it the coward's e5? Is it the fool's Sicilian? Or is it the master's Caro Kann? It's the master's Caro Kann. For those of you who follow the videos, we all know that I advocate for the Caro Kann defense. There's no opening like the Caro Kann. The Caro Kann is the Sicilian and e5 is like here. Caro Kann is like here. Clearly, it's a big difference. And everyone is quiet. Everyone always talks about the Sicilian, the French, the E5, but people want to keep the Caro Kann secret. They don't want to share this information with you. But as a master, as a veteran, as someone who's been out there, traveled the world playing all these high-level events, I have realized that the Caro Kann is, in fact, the opening to go. I have played almost every opening there is to be played in chess. I know the Naidov, the Sheveshnikov, the Rouser, the Accelerated Dragon, the Sicilian, the whole Sicilian, everything that exists in that realm. The French defense, E5, the Alcan defense, the Scandinavian, whatever opening you name it, I have some experience with it. And from all of those things, I know that the Caro Kann is the way to go. Now, one thing about the Caro Kann is the exchange variation. People always say that, the Caro Kann is the opening to play for the win, but what if he just exchanges? What if he plays this exchange variation? What will you do? Well, that's where I come in to show you what exactly you will do. This was a game that I played, and I had no trouble dismantling the exchange variation like that. The Caro Kann is really the opening to play for the Windows. Even in the exchange variation, Black is in no position where he cannot play for the win. In fact, the Caro Kann is opening where, in fact, Black is could be almost better. In fact, if I'm making a course on the Caro Kann, every line would be saying, in this position, Black is better. And that may be half true, but that tells you that the Caro Kann is really the opening. Just look at this game. I don't need to say anything further. Bishop to d3 was played. Knight f6, develop my knight. c3, and bishop to g4. This is the way to go for the win against the exchange variation. After queen to b3, it's very humble. Queen c7, taking away the f4 square for his bishop and defending the pawn at the same time. After h3, I simply move the bishop back. Knight to e2, I bring the knight out to c6. He kicks my queen, I move it around. Knight to d2, simply pawn to e6. Castles, bishop to d6, takes. I'm not scared for him to take on b7. I play simply rook to b8. And sooner or later, I will get back this pawn. He played rook a e1, and now he has signaled to me by moving this rook to e1 that all his pieces are coming towards the king side. And I was like, what if I castle on the other side here to really play for the win as the real Caro Kann expert? And that's when I realized that in the exchange variation, Caro Kann, Black can easily play for the win. Here, I played castle long. He played queen a4, getting ready to go to b pawn. King b8, solidifying the center. b4, and I immediately went bishop e2, pawn to g5. I am starting the attack. Things are getting very heated in a very dull Caro Kann exchange variation. Pawn to b5, no problem. Knight comes to e7, rook to b1. Maybe he wants to play b6 in some lines. Before going all out, I play knight to c8. The knight is a stalwart in the position. It protects everything. He plays rook fd1. h5, I'm going. I'm ready to play g4 to open up his king. He plays pawn to c4, no problem. Knight to b6. Again, I'm playing a strategy of attacking, play on the king side, central play, and keeping my king safe. After queen to a5, I happily took on c4, giving him the isolated pawn on d4. And here I felt absolutely no danger at all. I was a bit worried of ideas such as rook b3 and rook a3, attack on a7, or he would play pawn to b6. I didn't want to allow these kind of ideas, so I simply played pawn to b6. Yes, it does weaken the light square diagonal, however his bishop is here, it's not going to get over there. Queen to e1, he played. I simply played rook hg8. I'm not showing with my hand yet if I'm going to play g4 immediately. Maybe rook is better on g8. Queen to e3 he played. And here I went with pawn to g4. And after h4, immediately struck pawn to g3, supported by the rook on g8. And after f3, I found a very interesting idea, a very good maneuver, knight to d7. My idea is that I realized that the pawn on h4 is very weak. And what if my knight comes to f8, then g6? The pawn on h4 will be lost. Rook c1, I continue, knight f8, a4, knight g6, a5. And instead of taking the pawn, I played a very cunning move, queen to f4. I want to take on f4 the queen, and I force him to trade queens, and therefore my king is in no danger, and I evaluated this endgame as much better for me. Queens were traded, a b6, a b6, rook a1. And here the white king is limited of squares. The pawn on h4 is weak. The pawn on d4 is weak. Black should be much better. I simply played king b7. After rook a6, simply rook a8. And he struck with the move pawn to d5, trying to create counterplay. However, I simply took on a6. And here I simply emerged with the passed b pawn and won very convincingly. He played king f1 first. The pawn goes. Rook c8, cutting off the c file and ready to enter on c2. b4, the pawn goes. The king goes. The pawn goes. Rook comes across. King goes. King comes in. King enters. Rook f7 and simply rook g2. Two menacing pawns say white is lost. King e3. Simply b2. King a2. The king gets back to b3. And after this sequence, he cannot stop my pawn from queening. I hope it was not too difficult for you to understand. You can play through it, but it was really nothing complex. So look at this game. I was up against a 21-51, very talented federated player, and he played the exchange variation coming out for a draw. But look what happened here in this game. As I said, the Caro Kann is just the opening to play for the win. Now, of course, it has its risks. You can also sometimes get blown away if white is very, very well prepared and you are not. But however, it's a real chess player's opening.